Former Toronto Blue Jay pitcher Jesse Litsch is in the house today talking baseball, and he's managing in the MLB Draft League these days, so he has a ton of inside knowledge on a few of the players, including first-round draft pick Arjun Nimmala that the Toronto Blue Jays drafted this past week.
You are Locked On Blue Jays, your daily Toronto Blue Jays podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, friends. Craig Ballard, Locked On Blue Jays. The Locked On Blue Jay podcast, of course, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And with the Blue Jays back in action tonight, I want to remind you that all the Blue Jay games this season are available for you to catch on SiriusXM. Locked On Blue Jay podcast. This is a daily Toronto Blue Jay podcast, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Today, obviously, Friday. So thank you for spending part of your Friday talking Blue Jay baseball with me. To the everydayers taking in the Locked On Blue Jay podcast on our YouTube channel, hello and thank you for that. If you haven't already, please do hit that subscribe button. And to the everydayers making the Locked On Blue Jay podcast your first podcast listen every day, hello to you as well. Thank you to you as well. Please hit that 5-star rating. Great insight on some new Blue Jays, a Roy Halladay story. There's a poutine shout out as well. And more today with Jesse Litsch. Let's get into it. Craig Ballard, Locked On Blue Jays, thrilled to be joined by an actual Toronto Blue Jay. That you'll recognize him there, former Toronto Blue Jay pitcher Jesse Litsch. Jesse, first of all, I want to hear how you're doing these days. And as far as I understand, you continue to be knee deep in baseball.
Yeah. I'm managing the MLB Draft League. We just started the second half. The first half of the league is a lot of prospects, guys that can be drafted. We had, I think, 9 guys drafted in the draft.
Wow.
This year. So it was cool. Now the second half is indie ball, but it's day in, day out baseball, and just trying to help as many youngins as I can.
Absolutely love that. And Jesse, of course, want to get into quite a bit of that with you here, but want to start by talking about some of your career here and some changes that have happened in baseball. Want to get your take on it. Now, the first thing, Jesse, here's a little trivia here. What am I describing here when I describe these 5 at-bats? So we're going to go back to May 2007. There's a ground out back to Adam Eaton, who was the pitcher on the mound. Then we're going to go to May 2008. There's a ground out to veteran lefty Jamie Moyer. Now we're going to go to June 2008. Somebody's facing Pat Mahomes. We get a bunt. The batter tries to bunt. David Eckstein actually gets thrown out at second. Next at bat, we get a ground out to the third baseman. And then the final at bat of this person's career in 2010, we get some CanCon because Jeff Francis, Canadian pitcher, facing this batter, and Jeff Francis gets this batter to ground out to first base. What are those 5 at bats that I'm describing, Jesse?
Those are my at-bats.
Yes, indeed. Your 5 Major League Baseball at-bats. Yes, indeed. Now, glass half empty, it was the 0 for 5, but glass half full, Jesse, no strikeouts in there. So, hey.
Yeah.
I'm going to glass half full that thing.
That's one I'm very mad about. I was a two-way guy in college. I was more of a hitter. So, yeah, that's something that I'm definitely going to regret for a long time, but it is what it is. I did not strike out. I'll go with that.
And Jesse, you also got 5 more at bats than any pitcher this day and age is going to get, because that's one of the first rule changes I want to talk to you about here, the full-time DH. So you're a pitcher that's saying, hey, I welcome that part of the game. I did that part of the game in college, high school, growing up. Where are you on the full-time DH, Jesse? Do you like it? Do you wish maybe it was would you go the opposite way and pitchers in both leagues hit, or where are you on that?
I loved hitting, so obviously I'd want to hit, but I think that the best thing to do is the way they have it now, where the pitchers, they're paying a lot of money to concentrate on their craft. Batters, obviously, they're paying a lot of money to them concentrate on their craft. So it kind of separates those two. That's you get a pitcher up there. I remember when Scott Downs was with us and we were in Philly one time, and he swung and started running the first and
hurt himself.
And he was out for a month. So those things that are just freaking dumb, but it is a thing, and you're paying a pitcher $25 million a year, and you break an ankle by running out of the box, or hit by a pitch or whatever it may be. There's definitely a lot of potential risk.
So you're really seeing the business side of it, right, Jesse? You remember the Buster Posey collision at home plate. That was a big ticket guy that's out for a while now. So they changed, the rule about collisions at home plate as well. So you're seeing the business side of it, which always has to be taken into account, right, Jesse? We're talking a multi-billion-dollar business here, professional baseball. So I do hear you there. Now, another change that has certainly happened, and more recently than that, and I wonder how you feel about the pitch clock, Jesse, and I wonder how you feel that you would have done with the pitch clock. I think somebody like Roy Halladay would have just been even more dominant with the pitch clock. He wanted to work fast, and he was so cerebral. I could see him understanding how to play little reindeer games with the batters, and I think he would have excelled with that. How do you think you would have done with the pitch clock, Jesse, and what are your overall thoughts on the pitch clock?
We use it in our league as well. So like I see it, and I understand the side of like where the fans are, happy and the games are quicker. As a pitcher, as a hitter, like everyone develops a routine at a young age, and trying to go through your routine in that many seconds, like some people it's tough. Like they'll have to switch it. Like it's a game of adjustments. So like they'll switch it, but I think if they added maybe 10 more seconds, it would probably be more. Like I think in the playoffs, they definitely have to add more time. Anyway, like if you go into Seattle, you have those guys that are like the 13th man. Imagine in Yankee Stadium in the playoffs, Boston and Yankees. Like holy moly! Like I can imagine being a hitter or Toronto,
Jesse.
Yeah. I mean anywhere. To be honest, like it's going to be a sellout in the playoffs, and you're trying to go hit and concentrate, and you got 8 seconds to look at the pitcher. Like it's crazy.
And to your point, Jesse, I always reference because everyone talks about the World Baseball Classic, that Ohtani versus Trout as one of the at-bats of all time. Jesse, not one of those pitches would have fit in the pitch clock. And that was that was drama. That was baseball. We've seen a couple times in college this season, Jesse, literally bases loaded, game on the line, full count, 9th inning. I mean, the scenario you dream about as a child, and all of a sudden the umpire jumps up from behind home plate, time. That's a pitch clock violation, or that's a violation on the batter or the pitcher, whoever it is. And all of a sudden the game is over. Not on a baseball play, but on that rule. So I totally hear you there. I think that there is some room for some tweaks. I find it very fascinating that you're saying that this is something that you guys are starting with now, because I've always thought that, Jesse, that's going to be the turn where we're not even going to notice it anymore. As people, the teenagers growing up, it's part of what they do. It's part of, as you said, it's part of their routine. So I guess it'll get smoother and smoother as we go forward. But something else I wanted to talk to you about, Jesse. Well, a few other things before we get to the draft here. I mentioned Roy Halladay earlier. I know you were Doc's Halladay for a couple seasons there, Jesse. I mean, floor is yours. I would love to hear any story. I would love to. I've got time for anything you've got to share with us about Roy Halladay. George Bell's probably my favorite Blue Jay ever, but I mean, Roy Halladay doesn't take much of a backseat to anybody as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. I mean, I was very fortunate enough, like right when I signed with the Blue Jays, I was able to work out with Roy Halladay because we both lived in Clearwater. So like that was something that was very, I think it helped me a ton. I mean, at 20 years old, I'm signing with the Blue Jays. In the offseason, I'm working out with Roy Halladay. So obviously, I mean, 2 years later, I'm in the big league. So like he knew who I was coming up there too. So like he was able to take me under his wing and kind of teach me how to be a big leaguer, mold me into a big leaguer. And, he's a guy that was very like on game day, don't talk to him. You better not. Oh. You better not talk to him because you're going to get reamed out by somebody. And his locker was next to mine. So I mean, here's a great, we all know how he passed and we know all that stuff. He was a guy that loved flying so much that he had a simulator. Like I sat next to him on a plane, and I mean, it's obviously a nice jet, and we have 2 seats, like all first class up and down, way back. So he was my seatmate, and he would always fly a simulator with the plane.
Wow.
So like if we would take off from Toronto and we're going to Seattle, like he's taking off with the plane and flying the whole way. That's how much he loved being a pilot.
And as you guys are exiting, he's knocking on the pilot door real quick. Hey, you know what? At the 247 mark, maybe this will. Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. Wow.
I mean, definitely very smart. He's very. He did everything good. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah. Well, that's a great way to put it. He did so many things good. Yeah. I want to talk about another former teammate you had, Jesse, because here on the Locked On Blue Jay podcast, we've deep dived a few times. Jose Bautista's 2010 and 2011. Who had a better seat for those seasons than you? You're the teammate there. And Jesse, really want to talk in particular about that 2010, the 50-plus home run season. What I just find insane, Jesse, is he had a good season in 2009. Like maybe he was coming on after languishing, after not finding his footing, right, for the first several years, I guess. But even in the 2010 season, in the first month of the season, He hits 4 home runs. Like who in the 3rd month of the season, Jesse, again, he hits 4 home runs. Like I just didn't see this coming. And then that second half, my God, at some point, Jesse, it must have occurred to you that, geez, I feel like we just did a series of high fives with Jose as he came back from a home run. Now here's another one. Like at some point, it must have occurred to you, holy cow, something special is brewing here.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I mean, we got him in, I think, 2008, and it was literally 2 weeks after we played Pittsburgh, and he hit a home run off of me, pimped it. Like, we were going to hit him. There's a whole backstory to it. Like, hey, and 2 weeks later, we get him. And, he came in, and he's a very good dude, too. Like, and he can play everywhere. So, like, those were the things that were positive. Obviously, at the dish, I'm not sure. I think it might have been Dwayne Murphy. I'm not sure who the hitting, like, I know somebody hitting coach wise definitely helped him out. And there was a lot of talks about that. I'm not sure who, it might've been Dwayne Murphy at the time. I'm not 100%, but it was definitely awesome to see. And I mean, I still talk, I mean, Jose's an agent now. So like he has a couple guys that were on my team. Like, awesome. So yeah, so he's, we're still in contact a bunch, but like him that year, I mean, he kept going too. So it wasn't like a fluke year. So like, I think that's the best thing about it. It wasn't a fluke year. There was no like, oh, it was just a one-time thing. No, he kept doing it. So like he solidified that.
Jesse, this is part of why I love having people like yourself on for the insight of it. Jesse, did you just tell the story on the Lockdown Blue Jay podcast that Jose Bautista was a 4-letter word in the Toronto Blue Jay clubhouse until he became a Toronto Blue Jay? Is that what you just said?
What is that 4-letter word?
That's just a phrase. Like he was he was not popular. He was not popular with the Toronto Blue Jays prior to becoming a Toronto Blue Jay.
No.
I didn't know any of that.
Not with necessarily the Blue Jays, but not with me.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure we were all on board. I mean, I'm pretty sure it was Halladay that was the one to tell me to hit him, but then they took him out of the game. So, yeah. So there was definitely, he was probably not popular with the pitchers. Let's put it that way.
Wow.
But, it's once we got him, like, yeah, that's friend now. Like, let's go.
Now he's pimping on, Now he's pimping in the same uniform you're wearing. Okay, maybe a different story. Okay, that's awesome.
Anymore. So, but like, I mean, that's the same thing people say. Like Nick Swisher. Like, you hate to play against them, but you love to play with them. Like, there's a lot of those guys out there.
Yeah, and Jesse, I mean, am I wrong in saying, I mean, there's a lot of guys out there. It's needed. It's needed on a clubhouse. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Very much so.
Yeah. Coming up on Locked On Blue Jays, more with former Blue Jay pitcher Jesse Litsch as we get into Blue Jay first-round draft pick from the other day, Arjun Nimmala, plus changes to the game since Jesse retired, and some praise for Poutine in the second segment as well. Now, first, I wanted to mention that for a championship team, it's all about making sure every player is a perfect fit. Well, it's the same when it comes to your vehicle, right? Every part needs to fit just right. So the next time you need parts and accessories, head to eBay Motors. With eBay Guaranteed Fit, you can be sure every part you need fits right the first time around. Just add your ride to the My Garage and look for the green check to know that your part will fit or your money back. Because just like in sports, confidence is the name of the game when you shop on eBay Motors. And with over 122 million parts to choose from, you'll be back in the game in no time. After all, it's easy to bring home a win when the right parts are guaranteed. Get the right parts, the right fit, the right prices on ebaymotors.com. Let's ride. eBay Guaranteed Fit available for U.S. customers. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. And just before we get into the draft stuff, just one last thing about sort of your major league career versus what we're looking at now. That 2008 Blue Jay team, you authored 2 complete game shutouts. Roy Halladay authored 2 complete game shutouts. Even Scott Richmond, some more Canadian content we get to talk about today. Scott Richmond had a complete game shutout that season, so that's 5 for the Blue Jay staff in 2008. Chris Bassett had one this season for the Blue Jays in 2023. Now, if that remains the only shutout of the season for the Blue Jays this season, then over the last decade, we will have had 5 complete game shutouts. You guys had 5 alone. We're just not seeing the length of the pitchers in this day and age. I'm going to assume that the word analytics is about to come out of your mouth when you describe, why you think that's the case. But still, I mean, who's going to know better than you why that is the case, Jesse? So why on earth are we not seeing even a fraction of the complete games, of the longevity from the pitchers like we used to?
I mean, yeah, analytics plays definitely a big part, but like I think the bullpens are so strong nowadays. It's crazy to see, the velocity and everything coming out of the bullpens with the sharpness of like the sliders, curveballs, whatever it may be. So, like, you get a fresh arm in the 6th, 7th, 8th inning, it's hard for a manager not to take that. And, you'll have Bassett, if he's out there and he's, 75 pitches through 7, okay, yeah, let him go. But, like, once they hit like a 90, 100 threshold, like, it's kind of like, all right, it's time to make a move here, because I got these guys in the pen that throw 100. And that's that's the crazy part about the bullpens nowadays. Like, there's got to be like less than 5 and probably the big leagues that throw under 95 in bullpens. Like, it's crazy.
I see it, Jesse, as the turning point, and correct my timeline here if you don't agree with this here, but that 2014-2015 Kansas City Royals team, I mean, they had a closer for the 7th inning, they had a closer for the 8th inning, they had a closer for the 9th inning. So they made it into a 6-inning game. We'd seen some of that before. I mean, the 92-93 Blue Jays, you could have, with Ward and Hankey in the back of the bullpen, we've seen that before, but they were so consistent with it and had so much success with it. That's the timeline for me, Jesse, that it feels like we really started to see these specialized bullpens. Does that jive with you as well, or are you saying, you know what, Craig, I saw this coming actually a little earlier than that even?
I mean, that's definitely, I think it's probably a couple years after I was done, which is right around that timeline. Mm-hmm. So it's definitely something that has come a lot bigger since then too. So, like, the analytics have started to come in the game a lot more. They're able to see different things. And I'll tell you right now, like, the analytics stuff, like, I was like, so on it, because I'm old school. But after last year managing in this league and putting it in play and it being a minute to help guys, it's very beneficial. So, like, that's the stuff that once you learn it and you understand what it is, like, it's definitely beneficial. Whether or not it can make pitching changes and lineups and all that stuff, like, that's a whole nother story. But there's definitely data that can help with making those decisions for sure.
And you just described what I've always felt about analytics, how it could be absolutely so valuable, as you just said, as a contributor to the decisions. Yeah. Your baseball instincts and the analytics going hand in hand. I totally agree with what you're saying there, that there's a little bit too much for my taste. Maybe I'm old school like you, Jesse, for my taste right now of looking at Blake Snell is the great example in the World Series a couple seasons ago. I mean, he's Tampa Bay's ace in an elimination game. He doesn't even make it out of the 5th inning. And if you take your mind's eye back to that, Jesse, when he looked over and saw the manager coming out, his jaw was on the ground. He could not believe that that's what was happening. So for me, I think analytics can have a little bit too much in it. So, but to your point, I definitely see its place in the game. And I think it's fascinating that you say, hey, I was old school until I started living the analytics life, right? So you do see, some of that value there.
For sure.
Now, Jesse, where are you physically?
I'm in Williamsport, Pennsylvania. That's like where they have the Little League World Series. Yeah. That's my home team is here, and they play the Little League. My home field is where they play the Little League Classic.
That is awesome. That is awesome.
So it's a nice spot to be at every day as far as field wise.
So before we get into some draft stuff here, Jesse, if from your days in Toronto, if there's something you could just pick up and put it now, it's part of Williamsport. Now, I'm hoping you're going to say Tim Hortons, but it's your call. It's your call. Maybe it's a restaurant. Was it a club, a bar, an event, something to do? What's something in Toronto that you'd say, yeah, if I could bring that to Williamsport right now, I would?
Oof, probably poutines.
Ah, wow. Okay. Yeah. Oh my God, that's even better than pins.
I like me some late night poutine.
You just took it to the next level, because not only poutine, late night poutine, a little midnight. Wow. Okay. I love that. Now, Jesse, absolutely. Let's get into some draft, because as you mentioned, you're working with the MLB draft league. A lot of excitement, certainly in my opinion. I think you're going to heighten that here, because I think you're high on Arjun Nimmala as well. The first round draft pick for the Toronto Blue Jays was 17, playing shortstop right now. Every single swing I've seen from this young man is making me believe that swing is sustainable. Like, as his body grows, as he grows, that swing is going to continue to be something that plays. You can already see, Jesse, at 17 years old, you can already see that this kid is going to bring some power to the table on the big league level. As he grows up anyway. Jesse, what are your thoughts on Arjun? And really, I want to know from you, because so many times the path to the majors, the position you end up with at the majors, isn't the position you were drafted at. Nimmala right now at a shortstop. If I'm right about the power, maybe that's a third base bat. A lot of times we see shortstops converted to outfielders. So what do you see on Arjun Nimmala right now, and where do you see him projecting going forward?
I mean, I've seen him. I've seen Arjun since he was like 12. I've watched him
wow.
play. He's from Tampa area, so like I've seen him since he was younger on the travel ball frame, and just to see and his story of like what's going. Like he was always a standout, even at 12, 13, 14 U, but like what he started to do in the last year and a half has been very elite, and those things are obviously why he became a first rounder, but just the way he goes about it and he wants it really bad. And he's a kid that came from a cricket background, so like there's a reason his hand-eye is so good. Like that was the thing, is he has the ability to be really, really good because of the that I'm not going to say cricket, but like probably like his hand-eye is probably really good because of cricket. And he hits balls that other people might not hit because he understands a lot of the plate discipline stuff, and he's able to reach other things because he's had to manipulate a lot as far as being thrown. Like he didn't get any pitches in high school, he didn't get any pitches, so like being able to do stuff like that is huge. And defensively, he's gonna be fine. Like he can play anywhere right now. Like they're gonna start him at shortstop, he'll be fine. He can play. I would put him at any position and I would be comfortable. Like even if you threw him on the mound, he's so athletic, I bet he'd be fine. Just because. Yeah, like this kid, I mean, he's a rare, I mean, he's definitely a rare talent, and it's cool that he's I think he was the first Indian background drafted, which is awesome. And I know his parents, like they're awesome. Like the whole family, it's great. He also has a brother that's going into his senior year of high school that's pretty good too. So yeah, that's another thing, is like his brother has a chance to be drafted as well. He's kind of taken the same, he's a little bit bigger than Arjun, but he's kind of taken the same path as like how he developed. So it might be interesting to see what happens this year with him as well. But with Arjun, I mean, the sky is the limit, I think. I mean, he could be in the big leagues in 4 years, depending on how he progresses. I mean, he's young. They're not going to rush him. I know that.
Absolutely. I mean, I love that answer, Jesse. What I really found fascinating is, I'll tell you, I've been racking this bald head of mine trying to figure out what could the cricket tie be. I figured there must be something there as well. And you just nailed it, Jesse. The hand, because I'm thinking the flight of the ball is way different than like what could be your swing path. Everything's differently, but there's got to be something there. And there it is, right there. The hand-eye coordination. There it is, right there. Coming up on our final segment today with Jesse Litsch, he shares his inside knowledge of a few other Blue Jay additions from this past week. And of course, I want to remind you that tonight's Blue Jay game available free to catch on SiriusXM. And right now, I want to talk about my new favorite shorts, Bird Dogs. Bird Dogs stretch khaki shorts are designed to fit slimmer through the thigh and leg, giving you that sculpted look. Bird Dogs has stretchy pants as well, by the way, just so you know. They fit way better than regular shorts that are made of that stiff, that restricting cotton. Bird Dogs fixed this issue by inventing a cloud knit fabric that looks just like khaki, but it stretches, so you get that slimmer fit without having to sacrifice movement. Bird Dog uses anti-stink sweat wicking fabric that keeps you cool and dry all day long. Go to birddogs.com/lockedonmlb or enter the promo code LockedOnMLB for a free Yeti-style tumbler with your order. That's birddogs.com/lockedonmlb or the promo code LockedOnMLB for a free Yeti-style tumbler. You know I have mine. I've shown you it a few times. You won't want to take your Bird Dogs off. And then, Jesse, I know you're high on another Blue Jay draft pick as well, Landon Maroudis. And you joked about, hey, you could throw Arjun on the mound. Well, heck, you could throw Landon on the mound. You could throw Landon at short. I mean, Landon's got a few options as well. I'm going to guess that he's going to be a pitcher going forward, but you're going to know a lot more about this than I have, or than I do, Jesse. What are your thoughts on Landon Maroudis?
So, I mean, I'll tell you right now, he's been my favorite in Florida for the last couple of years.
Wow.
So, yeah, like overall. So, like his overall ability is elite. Like I gotta believe where he went, like he's probably gonna make some money, I would assume, if he signs. But like he's a guy that you could put him at short, you could put him in center, you could put him. I mean, on the mound, I've always told him he's gonna be a pitcher. Like I've always told him. He's from Clearwater. He's from my hometown. So like I've always told him he's gonna be a pitcher, and he was like, yeah. I'm like, okay, just watch. And he started to excel on the mound a lot this year, but like he'll also hit a ball 400 feet. So like he's a rare talent, and he's super, super, super athletic. Like it's there. Like he could run. He runs. I could put him in a lot of sports and he'd probably be okay.
Wow, there you have it. Jesse Litsch guaranteeing that Landon Maroudis is the next Shohei Ohtani. Is that what I just heard, Jesse? No.
The potential is there. I will say that. I don't know where Shohei was when he was 17, but
yeah.
I know Landon is a close. I mean, I know NC State is not happy if he doesn't come there. I can tell you that.
Okay, yeah. Very interesting. And Jesse, that's not the end of your knowledge of the young additions to the Toronto Blue Jays this week. You were mentioning earlier some very exciting news that recently took place about a player that you're very familiar with as well. Would love to hear that.
Yeah, we had a guy yesterday, my catcher from the first half, Nate LaRue, one of my catchers. He was a catcher at Auburn for the last 4 years, and he signed with the Blue Jays yesterday. So like he's one that I even sent messages like, hey, like don't miss out on this guy. Like wow. He got his undrafted free agent, but like it didn't matter. This kid, he's got a chance to be elite, and it's tough for me to say that with catchers, but like his bat is a little light, but that will come. But like his behind the dish catching ability is elite, and he honestly, like in college, like this is the one thing that I love about him is he calls a great game, and he was allowed to do it in college, which, you know, in this day and age, not many people in college are allowed to call their own game. Coaches
on the big league level, Jesse, we're seeing less and less of catchers being able to call their own games.
Yeah, so like it's pretty like I watched how he called a game, and I would see, and then it was like, all right, like there wasn't much critiquing on how he called a game.
Wow. Jesse, what sort of things do you covet in a young catcher coming up? Because you've seen catchers on the big league level. I mean, you worked with veterans as well. You got Rod Barajas in there, Greg Zahn. You were caught by a bunch of different veterans there. So you have an understanding of what a pitcher is going to want out of a relationship with a catcher. What sort of attributes are they going to want to see from their battery mate? So what are you seeing there from this young man that you're saying, you know what, this projects going forward, or even a few things that are major league ready right now?
Yeah, I mean, so like one thing that stood out is like we had 18 different pitchers. He wanted to get to know all 18 pitchers.
Wow.
I want to know what's coming in the game. I need to know how they throw the ball. So like he made it a point to try and catch their bullpens, to see how their balls move. Like that's the stuff that make you go like, and I told him, I said, when you get into the J system, like go catch bullpens, get to know all your pitchers. And he's like, I already do that. I said, I know, but just keep continuing to do that. He can catch and throw in the big leagues right now. Like,
wow.
Yeah, he can catch and throw in the big leagues right now. Blocking, like his behind the dish stuff is very elite. It's gonna like it. I'm very interested to see where they send him. Like he might be a kid they send straight to high A. Like he could be there right now. So we'll see. I don't know their catching situation. I know they needed a catcher somewhere. And honestly, like with Schneider, with a lot of they got a lot of good catching guys in the organization too, is what I told them. So I said honestly, it's a great to be.
That's awesome. And just get you out of here on one last. I mean, this is almost self-indulgent for me. I just always wondered about you and Rod Barajas, because what I remember, Jesse, is the two of you were so effective together against the running game. It's maybe an aspect of the battery mate relationship that's not talked about very, very often, but especially in this day and age, right, with the new rules and that, it's got to be even more important. But even for you, Jesse, do you remember what was it about? Now, you and Rod Barajas both very cerebral with the game. Was that why, or what was it about the two of you that just made you so effective, in particular against you were effective together as a battery mate, but in particular against the running game?
I mean, my whole life I've been effective against the running game because I'm so quick. Like I'm always like 1-2 or like below. Like you want, as a pitcher, you want to be like under 1-3 to the plate, because you're assuming the catcher is going to be at least 2 or under to second, and getting from first to second as a base runner is around 3.3. So like you put all that together, you're throwing a guy out, right? But like for me, like I was always usually a 1 flat to the plate. So like,
wow.
Yeah. So, and that's something that I was able to do with my mechanics. Not everybody can do that because like, there's a lot that goes into it. So like, it's for Rod, I mean, all he had to really do was catch and throw, which he was elite at. So like that was a big thing. And honestly, like whoever was really back there, I know I had a lot of success overall with the running game. I definitely with Rod, but like Rod's catch and throw was elite. They just probably ran with him back there more. I don't know. Like that's I didn't I mean, I can tell you that. So
They ran on him more to their dismay is actually how it worked. Yeah, is how it worked out. Yeah.
And that's where, I mean, that's a huge thing for kids. I told the LaRue kid, I said, hey, listen, like, don't worry as much about hitting. Make everything else great. The hitting will come once you get into the system. You get some good hitting coaches there. I know a bunch of the guys that are there, and they'll figure it out. If you hit 220 and you're an elite catcher, you're in the big league starting. Like, so let's do it.
For a long time. Right in our own backyard. Heck, Buck Martinez was one of the worst hitters you've ever seen in your life. He was a big league catcher for like 18 seasons because of what you are describing. So we've seen that. Yeah, we've seen that at the catcher spot. Absolutely.
For sure.
Jesse, what an absolute blast. Really appreciate your time today. We've got your Twitter handle, of course, on the screen here. But do you have any other social media, Jesse, where the good people can follow you? And definitely let us know, let the good people know here, hey, you're coaching in the MLB Draft League. So who is our new favorite team in the MLB Draft League? You're coaching the Williamsport. What's their name there?
Williamsport Crosscutters. Yeah.
Crosscutters.
Yeah, we're in the second half now, which is independent league. So like we didn't win the first half, but if we win the second half, we still make the championship. So it's similar to like, the low A system in Dunedin. So, that's the plan right now, is to try and do that. But, I have Instagram too, JLitch6, I think it is. And, really like, I'm open, and anyone asks questions, I'm pretty out. Like, I'm out there, I'll answer stuff. But, just the day in, day out baseball stuff now. I mean, the Williamsport Crosscut MLB Draft League the first half was amazing, a lot of talent. So look forward to seeing a bunch of the young guys, make it to pro ball and see what they do.
And then, Jesse, we'll get you out of here. And the dumbest question you've been asked in a while here: what is a crosscutter?
So the Williamsport area is known for like, I think logging.
I was going to say it must be something with logging, right? Okay, now I get it. Okay.
It's like one of the big like places like way back when for logging. So a crosscutter, I guess, is like a guy with a red beard and he chops wood. I mean, that's kind of, it's like a woodsman, like not a woodsman, but like, like one of the, I don't even know what they're called, but
like a lumberjack type guy.
Lumberjack, exactly. That's what it is. Like,
there you go.
Of that stuff. So
that is awesome. Jesse, thanks so much for your time today. I hope we can catch up soon. Best of luck in the second half. We're all cheering for the Williamsport Crosscutters to win the second half MLB Draft League. So good luck to you going forward. Thanks for your time today, Jesse.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
That's a wrap for this week's episodes of the Locked On Blue Jay podcast. I'll see you next week, and I hope you have a great weekend full of Toronto Blue Jay victories.